Hi, everyone. It was a week for exploration. And originally I thought, ooh, we're going to be curious. We're going to ask people questions. We're going to break out of our comfort zones. And that's what immediately comes to mind. But then you live out the word of the week, as I often and always do. And I realized that what I ended up exploring were a myriad of emotions. Things that I had kept stuffed down so deep that when they popped up, they were surprising. A little disappointing because I would have thought that I was a little bit better than some of those feelings of insecurity and jealousy and anger and frustration and ooh, the whole Pandora's box opened this week because it seemed like wherever I turned, the buttons were getting pushed. Have you ever had a week like that? Or perhaps a few years in a row like that? This message actually emanates from an email I got from my Aunt Joan, who always watches the Word of the Week and always sends me a private email afterward. And her comment was, Bryn, you seem to be doing good, but are you faking it? She wasn't saying that as a judgment. She was just genuinely concerned that I was putting on a happy face instead of being honest about what I'm going through. And let's face it, my whole goal with these morning messages is to encourage. So I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, that's not really, what you're here for every Sunday. But I also don't want to do a disservice and make you think I jump out of bed with rainbows coming out of my posterior. We're all just trying to live this life and do the best we can. And sometimes we do better than others at managing our emotions. But then when you add in the fact that I'm now, this will be my 4th year of sobriety. November 11th marks my 4th anniversary without a drink. And this year I took myself off of Zoloft because I was tired of numbing my feelings and I was concerned about how much the antidepressant had become a part of my chemistry, and I wanted to get clean from any kind of drug as well. So voila, what happens is you start to really feel your feelings. I don't know if any of you watch the show The Good Place. It's really a terrific program. Ted Danson plays the chief demon in hell, but he's quite well dressed. He looks like a human to not freak out the humans that end up there because it's really not the good place, it's the bad place. But anyhow, they were trying to teach him ethics in a recent episode, and he freaked out when he realized that there was mortality to the point where he was almost catatonic, like he was struck with the inevitability of death and life. And I think whenever any of us really think about it, it kind of can freak you out. But so he needed to function at a particular event, and Kristen Bell's character said, look, we all deal with that. Just shove all those feelings down really deep and just ignore them and pretend that they're not there so you can get on with life. And it's a comedic show, but I thought about it and I thought, oh. So then in the next scene, he shows up in a sports car with a hot babe in the seat next to him, and he's saying namaste and all these positive affirmations, and it's like, clearly he's not dealing with reality, but he's coping the best way he can, which is to pretend. What does this have to do with our word of the week exploration? Well, coming face to face with all of these emotions this week, I realized that the healthy way of dealing with them was not to ignore them or buck up and be positive and put up happy quotes everywhere. And not that that's like my MO, but it can be my default mechanism when I really don't want to deal with stuff. but to actually let the feelings be felt, to acknowledge them, to sit and consider for a moment what was behind them, which is usually fear, and to go back to what I learned in Costa Rica, which was to regard me and love me. Because whenever I am moved from that love, everything else gets wacky. So don't stuff your emotions in a suitcase, because eventually they will explode and blab out all over the place at the wrong time. But care about yourself enough, regard yourself enough to explore them. And that's not to say to dig a hole and dive in and bury yourself. Let them visit, acknowledge them, and then let them leave. In fact, escort them out the door. But at least taking that moment to be real with what's going on. So, Aunt Joan, to answer your question, this has been one hell of a week. It has not been a good one. But you know what? I'm here today, and I'm centered again, and I'm back to me, and I am ready to pick a new word of the week. And I wouldn't mind exploration again, because I would like to go on a trip or something, instead of exploring my feelings. But I hope you got something out of that, everybody. This is not pretend. This is real life. And while I always choose to see the glass half full, sometimes it feels half empty. For all of us, don't judge yourself. Feel the feelings and let them pass, because they will. So I'm saying a prayer for all of us, people just trying to live life the best we can. And the word we need this week, Holy Spirit, is harmony. Which goes back to what I just said about when there's a disconnect between how you're acting on the outside and what's really going on the inside. It speaks to authenticity. That's not to say to walk around all grumpy and miserable and snapping at people when you're having a bad day, but to realize when you're out of harmony. To realize, well, you know how you'll realize that you're faking it? It's exhausting. It's like hard to keep up and maintain, the perkiness. So getting back to harmony means taking time to consider, to feel what you're feeling, to meditate, to ask yourself, to care enough to ask yourself the questions, what's going on? Sense when there is disharmony, because that's the only way you can take the steps to get back to harmony. So I pray that we all make some beautiful music this week. And if you're feeling a bit off, it's okay. You're human. But love yourself enough to get back into harmony. Have a great week, everyone. All of us, me included. I'm ready for a good one.